So I bet by now you're telling me why selection is sounding just like that, right? I hope it's not sounding like this. If it is, let me give you a little hint. So this piece has a feeling of a waltz, right? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. If I play the left hand, I'm more like a bear walking around instead of a nice little minuet. So instead, what I want to do is make the second and third beats lighter. Feel the difference? Now first, Mr. Bear. Now lighter. Mr. Bear. Hear the difference? And so you always want to start thinking about how can you accompany these little harmonization melodies in a musical method? Because someday you're going to be accompanying these with your kids and your choirs and your children and your teaching. And you sure don't want them to feel like you're playing something really heavy when it's a light dance. So start thinking about how you can play more musically your harmonizations. Let's take a moment today to review the scales you've done in the past. C, G, D, A, E. Remember, they had the same fingering. They had the third fingers together. Here we have the switch to the thumb. Third fingers are together. Go on up to the C. Third fingers are together. Third fingers are together. We had 2 and 4, which were opposites here. 2 and 4 opposites there. Now today we have a new scale, the D flat major, and there's a really easy way to practice that. If you'll put, you have a group of 2 notes, so 2 and 3, 3 and 2. Thumbs, and now you need 3 notes, so you have 3 fingers. Thumbs. If you practice that first, when you finally play the scale, it's very logical and very easy. In that scale in context, the other thing you notice is that the thumb is traveling early. So, yeah, the thumb is behind the second finger, behind the third, behind the fourth. So it's ready to go. Opposite would occur in the right hand. You can see it. So you want to be aware of your thumbs, and you want to think of it playing a little bit more on the tip, because if you play down here, your wrist will come up and down. Watch. What you don't want. All right, so that's your D flat major scale that you're working on this week. You will also be doing the D flat major arpeggio. Mistake that students make there is when they play their thumb, their wrist comes down. I see them go like this. That's not very beautiful, right? So instead, see how the arms were kind of more in one motion versus up and down with the wrist. So I was kind of playing more on the tip of the thumb. The same thing going down. Work on your secondary dominants. Remember, you did 1, 5 of the 2, 5 of the 3, 5 of the 4, 5 of the 5, 5 of the 6, and then we'll do 5, 1. Now we're going to do a fun activity with that. Let's do it in the key of D. 1, 5 of the 2, 5 of the 3, and then 5, 1. Now the right hand will play so each time I'm playing 1, an octave, down 3 notes, an octave, down 3 notes. So it will be Guess what? We're going to do another minuet this week, this time by Krieger. 1651. So what time period was that? Always remember the dates of Bach. 1685 to 1750. If you remember that, you can remember because Bach died the end of the Baroque period. Before would be that time period. So here we have 1651 to 1735. Baroque time period, right? So we'll use the same kind of articulation as we would for Bach. Guess what? Today we're going to do another minuet, this time by Krieger, at the same time period as Bach. This edition actually has slurs on it. The original would not have had slurs, but we'll follow that so you get some experience at observing and noticing the slur markings. So do observe the slurs for this one. Listen. One of the things you may have noticed when I play is at the end of a phrase, the hand comes up. That motion up relaxes the hands and keeps the arms ready to go for more difficult passages that may come at any given moment in time. What you want to do is look for the hard spots. I think you'll find it a little tricky at the beginning to have that motion. So perhaps you'd want to play the A minor, the G major, then because that's one kind of technique. Now, where do you see something similar to that? You can see it at measure 8, right? Because basically the right hand is A minor, G major. The left hand is basically a descending line. And then we see at measure 17 as a beginning. So find similarities between each different area and practice those as a group. Now the difficult spot may be for you on measure 5. Don't be afraid if that happens, because that's usually hard for everybody there. Cadences and Baroque music are particularly challenging. So in this spot, take it apart. Perhaps play. You notice I'm playing from beat 1 to the beginning of 3. 1, 3. I stop on a beat. Perhaps I want to practice beat 3 to 1. 3 and 1. Now the whole measure. You notice that I'm repeating. In reality, I might repeat that 10 times. And I'm not letting myself go forward until that really feels comfortable in my hands and it sounds good. Now the next measure. Okay, that's pretty easy. Now I'm going to stop on beat 3. Do you notice how the hand came up? I didn't play this way. Now my hand's stretched. In general, you want to try to keep your hand in a closed position versus open. So there was an open moment, and then it closes. So you really need to practice only a measure at a time, beat to beat at a time, finding places that are similar and practicing that. All right, that sums up the most difficult parts of our lesson for this week. I think you're ready to go ye into the world and become great practicers. See you next week.